This episode of the Amp Hour is brought to you by ViaDesigner.com, part of Triad Semiconductor. Who needs a chip printer when you can design your own mixed-signal chips on your desktop? ViaDesigner is a Windows-based software for the design and simulation of analog and digital circuits. At ViaDesigner.com, you can learn about mixed-signal design, share your design IP, and form teams to create your own custom VIA ASICs. Go to viadesigner.com/theamphour and enter coupon code AMP100 at registration for a free year of Via Designer, a $500 value. This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded April 29th, 2013. Episode 143, Habitual, Handicraft, Hangups.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
Should we change our intro? We've been saying the same shit for 150 episodes or something. Or should we at least change the order in which we go?
All right, let's try it again.
All right. You're supposed to go first, dude.
Oh, yo, this is Chris. What up?
No, this is so bad. I can come in with the Cleveland jokes and... No.
Welcome to Cleveland.
Fail.
Welcome to Cleveland.
At least we're
Cleveland
not Detroit.
and Sydney.
This is probably the worst intro ever.
No, it's good. I like this. This is good.
Right.
We'll think of something. Don't worry about it. We'll get a new intro once we get a guest.
Right.
So what's new, man?
What's new? Yeah. I'm just looking through this list of retro computer ads which you put up. I love these things. Yeah. I love them.
Me too. What's your favorite? I mean, I've seen some of these before, but And to be honest, some of them are a little like. There's a couple that are like, but
well, yeah, it's hard to beat the good old ones with the chick in it, right? Yeah. And it's like versatile, dependable, compatible, maybe even sexy with this chick in white, short shorts holding up a modem,
Yeah,
like
it's like old school advertising, right? It's like Don Draper style.
That's right, straight out of the 70s,
Yeah.
Oh man,
this is
great. And
sorry, go ahead. Well, speaking of Mad Men, did you hear that they're talking about maybe doing a Mad Men like show with NASA? Early days of NASA.
What's a Mad Men like show?
Oh, do you know what Mad Men is? It's like a drama show with, if you ever see like references to Don Draper, he's like this suave ad man from the 60s, and then it kind of transitions into the 70s, and it's like this slow burn character drama. And a very big following, at least in the States. And but they're going to
obviously not here.
Right, apparently. It'll get there eventually, I'm sure. Apparently, they're supposed to do one with NASA now, where it'll be like this, character drama basically, but it's just going to be early days of NASA and all the drama behind that, I guess. I don't know. It just sounds like a really interesting backdrop.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Mad Men thing reminded me. So, what about these ads? Did you see these back? I guess you probably saw these live, huh?
No, I saw these live. Yeah, they bring back lots of memories. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've thrown out a lot of my almost all of my old computer magazines. Yeah. I did have rather a large collection.
Well, you did have that box and that video you made of. What were those, Electronics Australia or something like that? Didn't you get some?
Yes, I've done my Electronics Australia magazines and 20 years of, 40 years of test equipment or something I did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
these are
awesome. Great. I'm going to have to do another one for just computers because there's lots of computer ads in the early electronics magazines, because the whole hobby computer thing was around back then.
So everything.
They're all advertising in there, and so
that'd be an interesting parallel to like the kits of today. I mean, like we're still in a renaissance of kit making, right? I mean, sort of, kind of. Maybe
we are. It started up again in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
7, maybe. Yeah.
It'll be an interesting comparison.
Brave new world. It's still the same. I mean, it's still the same. I mean, I don't see what's changed. The boards are higher quality, of course. Now you can get a double-sided. Everyone's doing double-sided, plate-through solder mask silkscreen boards. Whereas back in the day, holy crap, if you got a board that was tinned, a single-sided board that was tinned instead of bare copper, that was a high-quality kit,
Yeah.
I was like, a tinned board, let alone double-sided. That was unheard of.
Right.
Let alone plate-through, let alone solder mask. Oh, goodness.
So many options these days, right? And so cheap.
Well, that's right. Well, I interviewed Colin Mitchell from Talking Electronics, who pioneered a lot of that stuff. He was the first one to put a kit PCB, on the front cover of the magazine, actually staple it on the front. So when you bought your magazine at the newsagent, you'd get a free PCB with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the first in the world to do that. And probably one of the few who actually ended up doing that. Yeah, you would get a free PCB with every.
Well, that's interesting because they started doing that with like video games then too. Remember they used to have like CDs and diskettes
that was big when the computer thing took off. First of all, it was tapes, right? They would put a cassette tape on the front of the magazine, right? And and then they'd do CDs and stuff like that. So the CD would be stuck on the inside. And so you'd go to the newsagent and you'd flip through and make sure you bought one that didn't have a cracked CD in
Someone
it.
snuck one out, right?
Yeah. Or they just got cracked in the mail because they got folded,
Right.
And geez, those were the days.
No.
I used to love that. I used to ride my bike down to the local newsagent to see what all the latest magazines were.
Yeah. The glory days of magazines, back when people bought advertising and everything too.
Well, that's right. Well, this is before the internet. This is the only way you got your information.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Some people just cannot grasp that. These magazines were the only way you got it. End of story.
I don't think I was really with it enough when that was the case. I'm trying to think back.
You weren't really the early hobbyist, were you?
No, but
You
even just like when stuff was available. I mean, like, middle school was like early internet days, not like,
Oh, God. Yeah. Youngster.
Yeah. Not like bulletin boards or anything, BBSs or anything like that, but,
Right.
AOL days. I remember the first time logging on to AOL. Good old days.
God. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, now we get people that are, good old days are, hey, I remember when, I don't know, Dig was a thing.
Oh, God.
Right? I mean, there's always that kind of thing. There's always these references throughout history and different reference points.
No, I can remember the late 70s, That's how old I am. Yep.
But
those were the good old
not
days.
super gray beard yet. You'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I could ever grow a beard, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
It'd be so embarrassing.
Good. Maybe April Fool's next year you pop on camera with a beard.
Right. It'd take me 6 months to get in to grow anything, I think.
Yeah, well.
But I do love these. I do love these old computers. These ads. They're magic.
I always was hoping. I talked to a couple other people about this, just like trying to find like old posters of these too. Like some of them wouldn't really work because they were designed for like a magazine layout. But,
yeah, right.
Some of this stuff is like really good. Like I'd have a poster of William Shatner hawking a VIC-20.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. As if it was the Star Trek computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy,
so good.
Yep, absolutely hilarious. Oh, the Tandy 15 megabyte hard disk drive. Oh yeah, only $2,495, folks.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Someday someone's going to look at a Google Plus post about Google Glass being $1,500 and be like, how did anyone ever pay that? Right?
I know.
Right? I'll be vindicated, right?
That's insane.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Oh, man. Tandy 5000. Oh, I had the Tandy 1000.
Tandy 5000. I never had any. I don't even know what I had the first computer I had. It was definitely a 386 or something. Maybe, no, it was 286. So
mine was a Tandy 1000.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, there he is. There's William Shatner.
Yeah. Just got to keep scrolling down. Oh, and your Tandy 1000 below it. Yeah.
No, that's the SX. That's a more modern SX. No, hell no. I had the original with BIOS version 1.00.00.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you build it yourself?
I've done a video on that somewhere. No. It's a bought one.
Yeah.
And then I designed a turbo board for it, and which I slotted in there, and built my own turbo board. I had that design published somewhere.
Nice.
So yeah. Anyway, I love this shit. It's great.
Yeah, good old days.
Hey, our T-shirts went gangbusters.
Oh, they did. If you were listening to this now, you missed out.
Well, no, it's like a day left. Maybe there'll be
for
a few
us,
hours left by the time it goes up.
Tomorrow.
Well, by the time it's posted, I think there's a day and 4 hours left.
Maybe.
So by the time you post it, maybe there'll be a couple of hours left. Jump on, folks. Yeah,
maybe I'll try and publish early for tomorrow. But yeah, it went well. I mean, t-shirts went well. But 260.
Yeah. 260 shirts. And we
Not
thought,
bad.
will we get 100? Oh, I don't know.
Right.
We got 260. Brilliant.
Right. Yeah. I got some samples of the other ones, too, the other colors from the other service we're using, the Printfection. And those turned out pretty well, too. So those will be coming in the next couple weeks or days.
Are they full sample shirts, or are they just swabs of material?
Oh, no, they're full sample shirts.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you get full sample shirts? Do you pay for them or what?
Yeah, I paid for them.
Oh, right.
I borrowed money from you. You didn't know that?
No. Oh, no. Right.
Yeah. Well, to find out about shirts and everything else, though, so T-shirts went well, but maybe people didn't hear about them, and so I'm always worried about that kind of stuff, and also, like posting information for people, like we have tons of links in our subreddit that we don't always get to talk about. So today, Nick Pinkston, the other moderator of the Hardware Startup subreddit, he showed me this site that it's really cool. This is what I was going to tell you about before the show, but I figured I'd just tell you here.
Ah, right. Okay.
Maybe you've heard of it. It's called ifttt.com.
No, ifttt.
If this, then that.com, basically. IFTTT.
Oh, right.
And basically, it's so basically our subreddit stuff's going to post to the Twitter feed now and to the Facebook feed. So people prefer that stuff. And there's an RSS feed that I didn't even know about.
Hang on. This webpage is stupid. It tells me nothing. It just says, put the internet to work for you. Join the big
you
button.
got to join.
What?
Yeah, you got to join, man. Sometimes that happens.
I'm not joining without knowing what it's about.
I just told you.
Oh,
I just told you what it does. All right, well, more for me. More internet for me, Dave.
It's a service that lets you create powerful connections with one simple statement. If this... Yeah, but you didn't explain. Just tell me if this, then that.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah. If Dave tweets, tweet back. That was a dumb tweet. I could do that kind of thing. Yeah, I could do that kind of. I could set that up. It's like a automation tool. Automation's awesome. I love automation.
Next week there'll be automated bots doing the show, folks. Yeah. it'll just be joining little segments of our voice, little snippets of our voice together to create a show.
The Amp Hour Podcast. Welcome. I'm Dave Jones of the EEV blog. That's how we can do an intro from now on.
8-bit voice. 8-bit voice. Hi, I'm Dave Jones of the EEV blog.
Voice actors, we are not.
No. But I still don't know what it does. Okay, channels, right? It triggers this part, blah, blah. Action, ingredients, what recipes, what?
I should have told you so late in the game that you just can't grasp it. You're living in a Tandy 1000 day here, Dave.
I am.
You live in Tandy 1000. It's JavaScript and Node.js and crap. I don't know.
Give me an example.
Ruby on Rails.
Give me a worked example here of something useful that this thing would do.
If someone posts something to Reddit, send it to Twitter. If you star a Gmail email,
what's the criteria that determines whether or not it's forwarded to
all of them?
Twitter. All of them. So it's a bloody redirection service. Is that it?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't used it enough.
On.
I like this so far, though.
You hyped this thing up like it was so great.
Yeah, it's great.
I won't tell you about it. I'll tell you on air. Like, what?
I don't know. You can just automate a bunch of stuff. You can do WordPress, YouTube, but like all the, SoundCloud. Anytime something posts or you get a phone call or something like that. Ooh, look at this. There's even, oh wow, this is interesting. There's even a Belkin, the Wemo, so like Internet of Things connected motion sensor and a switch.
Yeah.
If it senses motion, it could send. You could hook this thing in to send like a tweet. Like someone has entered the room, right? If it senses motion.
Yeah, so it's like a ninja block.
Yeah, except it's a really nice software interface for that. I don't know. It's
right. Oh.
That's cool.
Yeah, fine, okay. It's just an automated tool to redirect shit or do something when something happens.
I think you're oversimplifying it personally, but
right. Yeah, probably.
That's cool.
I'll tell you when I find something useful to do with it.
Okay. Oh, there's the Blink one on here too. The that thing. Remember that there's a Kickstarter for that? It's just like a tiny little Arduino that just blinks a light on your computer. It's like a little USB. You didn't see that? It was like a little USB stick, and and if you trigger it with something, it would like, so say you get an email, it'll start blinking on there versus like even if your computer's shut down, I think. Well, maybe not shut down, but
no, because then it'd get no. Well, sometimes the USB ports are powered when you shut your machine off.
Yeah, but it would have to be.
But then it can't send any data to it, so fail. Right. No, that's, fantastic, but why don't you use your screen to do it, I guess? Well, the whole idea is it's lower power, right? It's a lower power. And if you can buy those on eBay, you can get these
I think you're missing the point here, Dave.
Modules that...
This is... So the Blink M is just a interface device. I remember looking at this thing and being like, come on, it's just a little blinky light, right? I mean, it's just a USB dongle with a little LED on it. But... at its basis, I mean, this is the prototype. I didn't even know this when I started talking about this today, but this is like a prototype type of thing for an Internet of Things, right? If you had multiple devices that you wanted to hook together and you wanted it to be in a simple, understandable manner, this is how you do it, I guess. So like blink if it's sunny outside, right? Or if it's like you can. I know that one's kind of sad, actually.
This is sad. Like, here we go. Like, it can do YouTube, right? And like, allows for automatic posts from any time you upload a YouTube. You can post it to WordPress. Yeah. Great. There's tools out there that do all this. I mean, there's nothing new here. Nothing to see, folks. Move along now. Okay. Oh, it's okay because it's all in one place, and it's maybe a simple interface. Yeah, okay, but no, sorry.
He'll come around, folks. Don't worry. He'll come around.
Socks are still on. Sorry.
Yes, right.
Next. Really?
Yeah.
Mind blowing. My ass.
Yeah.
Do electronics designers have a moral imperative to source from ethical working conditions?
I don't know. Do they?
That is the question.
That is the question.
I think the obvious answer to that is no, because that impinges on my freedom to be an absolute bastard and choose slave labor if I so desire.
That's not moral or ethical. That's just
but
you're talking about freedom.
Yeah. People should have the freedom to be immoral if they want.
You do have the freedom to be immoral. That's not the question,
choose the immoral option.
Moral imperative is different than moral, I don't know, directive?
Right.
Anyways, basically what happened was there was a factory collapse in Bangladesh, and this author
that was bad.
Yeah.
Man.
I actually hadn't heard about it. This is actually the first I'd heard about it this afternoon. And it happened a couple days ago, right? It was, I think it was back on the 24th or something like that.
But something.
Basically, you know, like it's the same old tune, right? I mean, we know about stories at Foxconn and stories at other low cost locations, and you know, just less than great working conditions. And I thought it was an interesting question that the author posed of, you know, do you need to consider that, right? I mean, and
well, I do. Hence why my products are more expensive than they should be, because I try and source things locally and, you know, ensure that, you know, I don't buy from the, you know, cheapest sweatshop in China or Bangladesh or something like that. So, you know, I like to think that I'm doing my bit. You know,
so it's a question of
an ideal world, I would like to think that none of that ever happens, right? That us engineers who design and spec things would, you know, choose the best option, and then the whole world gets elevated in terms of living standard and working standard and all the rest of it. And
I think we may have talked about an article about that earlier. There was I think it was Tom Friedman of the New York Times who wrote about that too, basically saying that the net effect is, there's crappy working conditions, but there would always be crappy working conditions. But the fact that money is entering the area brings up the standard of living, which is an interesting point that I had never thought of. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, so they've got to sort of bootstrap themselves. They have to work in crappy, you know, conditions and everything first to get more money in so that they can improve their crappy conditions. Is that...
well, sort of. Not like that they have to, just that it'll happen naturally.
Thing.
Yeah,
it'll
just
happen naturally.
You know?
That's how the world works. Yeah,
right.
Maybe
it's just the drive to succeed, right? I mean, if you get a taste of success, you're going to want more success. Whereas if you have no opportunity, no access to, you know, if you're like in the middle of the desert and you can't go find a job because there's no one around, then of course you can't, you know, you're not going to just bootstrap out of nothing. But if you start from, you know, maybe crappier conditions and then work your way up, similar to how England did in the 1800s and the States did in early 1900s, and, you know, which is basically where factory work has moved along. It has brought some prosperity at the cost of working conditions, but eventually it improves. I mean, it's never an easy process.
Entirely dependent upon the evil overlords, who, you know, the people may not have a choice. You know, if we, let's say, you know, we need to improve Bangladesh's working conditions, so let's give all our money to Bangladesh and that will improve all the standards. Well, what's to say that it does? You know, wouldn't the overlords just take the money and run and still whip them to death in the sweatshops? You know, I mean,
I think from a money perspective, that's not going to change anything. I think that it's going to come from the people there that ultimately will. I mean, like obviously they've already seen protests from this. So there's the factory collapse. 270 people died in this factory collapse, and there's been protests nonstop, basically because of it. And I mean that's how change starts, but it's not like people are going to stop investing there either, right? That's the other thing. So I don't know. The interesting thing I thought was from an electronics perspective is I think that this in general will happen less often, right? So prior to
the world is generally progressing upwards in terms of working conditions, living standards. I mean, it's just on average the world standard is going up.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's only going to improve. But
I think that's necessarily true as well. But what my point is that because of automation, right? Because of robotics and the lowering cost of automation, if you think of even like a pick and place machine, right? Whereas 20 years ago, you're unless you're doing super high end, your main option was hand stuffing boards, right? And if you need to do that cheaply, you go over where there's lots of low cost people that can stuff boards with, you know, by hand, right? These days, it's faster and more cost-effective to buy, you know, even just a low-end pick and place machine and do that, right? And so that's the interesting thing, I think, from the electronic standpoint. I mean, the situation in Bangladesh was a t-shirt factory, but in the electronic standpoint, it's not like through holes going away anytime soon, but it's interesting because I think that aside from like cabling harnesses and certain components in assemblies, like there's just less of that. There's more automation. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
Yes, of course. So what's that going to do to the people? Is it going to put them out of jobs, or is it going to improve their working conditions? Because the facilities you need to put these pick and place machines in generally are of a higher standard than some slum factory where you slapping solder together with a plumber's iron.
Right, yeah. No, I think it's both. I mean, yeah, people might lament, there's less jobs, but it's because there will be more automation and there will be different types of jobs around it, right? I mean, it's not like it's easy to load up a pick and place, right? It's you need a lot of organization, you need a stock room. There's still a significant amount of work around it. It's just different types of labor.
Yeah, the work has changed. Yeah, it's different types of labor. I mean, there's still a lot of labor in the pick and place machines just checking everything. To checking that all the machines and just massaging the machines, making sure that they keep ongoing and stuff like that. I mean,
you ever do any of that manufacturing engineering? You ever do optimizing footprints and everything?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's been a huge part of my job. Yeah, choosing the right footprint for your particular assembler's type and model of machine they got. So the board will be optimized. It has to be assembled by that manufacturer on that particular machine. They might have different brand machines in their factory, but we can only use that line because it's we know we're going to get a higher yield from that line because of the geometry of the footprints and blah blah blah.
So did you start
stuff like that?
Did you actually change? Did you have multiple sets of Gerbers
multiple footprints?
Really?
Yeah. Well, we would. Well, no, generally not. You wouldn't have multiple sets, only if you had to. Generally, we would design the footprints and the boards specifically for that manufacturer and that assembly machine.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't have
because
multiple runs.
we knew we were going to use those.
Okay, you wouldn't have the same board at multiple manufacturers.
No. That's way too much dicking around.
Right. Well, that would be intense, right? If it was high, I guess that'd be high volume
crazy
stuff, but.
Oh yeah, no. You spend most of your time just dealing with one manufacturer. If you've got multiple ones, geez, no.
Yeah, I've done it where trying to push the limits of because basically older machines they were made for maybe 0805, 0603 type of parts. You start trying to push the limits of that, and you start you just run into accuracy issues, right? I mean, some of you either have to slow it down so that the robot can be more precise, or you have to change your footprint so that it's a wider footprint, or you got more solder mask, or whatever else.
And then there's always a compromise between high thermal capacity parts and low thermal capacity parts, so that you have to try and optimize your thermal profile to do both at the same time and then not screw up one, and it's just
well, that was an interesting question. We had a question last week about through-hole and why the heck is it was George Hahn. He asked why isn't through-hole dead yet, right? And I thought that it was, maybe we've been asked that before, but it's a good question, right? I mean, you think about it from a manufacturing perspective. Obviously, we just discussed the fact that you need someone. Most of the time, you need someone to hand place stuff. There are machines out there that can do that kind of thing, but it's definitely more of a burden. So
well, I'll tell you one of the reasons is often cost. You open up any consumer item, what will you find? You'll find the power supply is still a single-sided phenolic-based board with through-hole parts. Why? Is because it's cheaper.
Yep.
Because you can lay it out on that single-sided board, right? Because the components, when they're through-hole, you can run traces underneath them, and then the component acts as a jumper, right? So you can lay out your board, optimize it for a single-sided design. Yep. Try and do that with an SMD design. Try and get an SMD design on single-sided board. Good luck, right?
Yeah.
It's just, right? I've done it once or twice for very simple circuits, but apart from that, no, right? It's a complete fail. You can't do it.
Right. Well, and usually you want to do tighter boards in the first place if you're doing SMD anyways. So, it's kind of like a mental switch there.
Yeah, so it's just not going to happen. So, just that fact alone, that it's lower cost, is always going to keep it there.
Well, it's interesting. Wendell from Evil Mad Scientist Labs, he said the same thing on the subreddit. He mentioned the same thing. And because of that, we should mention, too, for kitting, right? So EMSL, they sell a bunch of kits. And that's another good application of it, right? If you're trying to sell to people that are learning to solder and everything, that is aside from the cost, it's just from the learning perspective too. It's a hell of a lot easier than trying to do SOT 523s or something like that.
and from the kit manufacturer's point of view, I've sold both through-hole and SMD kits, and I gave up on SMD kits. They are a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah? What part?
They're ridiculous, because if you've got one resistor, right, let's say you've got one 2K2 resistor in your kit, right, you've got to cut off, you've got to try and get that strip there and cut off one freaking resistor, and then how do you label it? Like, especially if you've got different value caps, right, which don't have the value written on them, right?
Yeah.
Then, you have to bag and identify each one, otherwise the person who assembles it's got to go in and measure the cap to make sure it's the right one, and they may not have a cap meter, right? It's just anyone doing SMD kits is mad. It's crazy. Whereas at least through hole, right? You can, at least all the through hole parts, all of the capacitors have the value written on them. All the resistors have the color code on them, right? They're easy to handle. They're easy to sort. They're easy to package. They're, Yep.
Yeah. Well, and luckily, a lot of that stuff is still sticking around. Probably for cost reasons from maybe not from a manufacturer's perspective, but probably from, just a entrenched base too, right? There's just tons of stuff out there that uses it. So that kind of thing could cause it to hang on for years. You see even PLCC, huge ass packages still, like 244 or 208 pin. What is that? The quad flat pack, those huge ones, they're 18 millimeter across, or 18 centimeter across, rather. Something like that.
They're SMD. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah. What am I thinking of then?
Not guess so. They definitely are SMD.
I'm thinking, what am I, PLCC maybe then?
And PLCC, well, technically they're SMD as well. Except often they go into a PLCC socket, which is through hole.
Right.
Sometimes. But then you can get SMD PLCC
Well, I
sockets.
can't remember the package type that I'm thinking of then. Sorry.
You young whippersnappers.
I know. That's the thing. I never use it, right?
Right.
My experience in the past, though, has been what someone else mentioned on the subreddit was the high power stuff, right? So if you're doing lots of heat sinking with big transistors and stuff like that, couple 100-volt transistors, MOSFETs, and everything, that can kind of necessitate it. They're getting better, right? Like some of those D-squared packs and everything, but you still got to heat sink it to the board then, and then that has its own issues because then it starts to affect everything around it, not just the heat sinks, and that gets kind of messy.
Old school bolts and nuts and washers,
Yeah, and heat sinks, machined,
and heat sinks,
aluminum, extruded.
Anodized.
That's right.
Oh dear. So did we answer the bloody question?
Cost? So why they aren't dead yet?
No, do electronics designers have a moral imperative to source from ethical working conditions? Yes or no? Or put it in the too hard basket and move on.
I think it was the, it depends basket. Because the other thing I was thinking with that is, if I didn't like it, right? If I'm working at a big company, which I am, it's if I don't like it, what the hell am I going to do about it? It's I could quit. I could,
try and stand. That'll show them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It won't affect
Chris
any change
Gamble's
necessarily.
Quit. Oh no, we better change our whole company direction.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works. So but it's in those kind of situations where you don't have that kind of high level control. You could try and influence things, but aside from that, it's I don't really know what you can do.
Yep.
Not to say that you shouldn't if you feel strongly about it. So it's I'd say it's solidly in the it depends category.
Well, if you're the one man band, the Midnight Engineer, you have the choice.
It's true.
You can choose to use places that have high working standards or not. Your choice. Or it's your choice to not care as well, and just, I don't know, I don't care where the parts come. I'm going to order from Alibaba and that's it,
Yeah. Well, that was... Yeah. I kind of feel that too, because like I'm a cheapskate, right? I don't know if I probably mentioned that on the show before. I'm pretty solid in the cheapskate. I think
we all engineers, category. As a rule, are cheapskates. That's just the way we are.
Optimizers, right? That's really what
We're
it
optimizers,
is.
yes, right.
And there was a post from like a...
That's a good T-shirt slogan. I'm not cheap. I'm an optimizer.
Yeah, I don't...
or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, we'll work on that one.
Yeah.
But there was a post on Engadget about this new like learning board for Arduino, right? And it was like a pluggable shield with like switches and LEDs and everything. And like with the Arduino and this board, which seemed pretty simple, it's like $60. And it's the same kind of thing. It's like a cheapskate in me is like, dude, $60 for that? I mean, it's not bad, right? I haven't used it, obviously.
Well, you can buy a Raspberry Pi for 30.
Right, and that's just what it comes down to, is this disparity in pricing of, like there is value to someone somewhere, right? And I don't hold it against anyone for charging more for a kit, right? I mean, like you charge more for a kit because you source it locally, or other people charge more for kits because there's learning associated, right? There's like programming associated with it or something like that. But
we've been through this before. It's like, for example, my microcurrent, right, costs $60. Right, and it's a freaking op amp and some resistors and some switches in a case, right?
Yeah, you should make that.
Why
cheaper.
Does it cost six? Yeah, why does it cost $60?
Why does it cost $60?
You do the math, right? The parts cost X amount, and you've got to if you've got distributors, right? They have to make their 40% margin, right? So we've talked about that before, and then you've got to make your margin on top of that, and you add those things up and. Well, that's what it comes out as. You can't sell it if you sell it for less than $60, you may as well not bother.
Right, you're
because you're working
then, right?
for slave. Because then you're working for slave labor wages, and you're doing it to yourself.
Right.
I mean, and these things aren't high volume, right? This Arno Shield thing that we're talking about here is, they're only going to sell a few hundred tops or something, right? It's not like they're going to sell 10, 50,000 of them or something.
Yeah, they might.
So it's well, they might, yeah, but no, I know the numbers for these sorts of things. There's so many of them out there. There's only so many people that are going to want this particular one instead of Joe Bloggs' one down the road.
True. Yeah.
So I mean, these things aren't high volume at all. Whereas something like the Raspberry Pi, the value you get in that for your $30 is absolutely ridiculous because they designed it that way. They put a lot of they put many years of work into manufacturing engineering to get that cost down.
Yeah.
Same thing with the the $30 tablet or whatever, right? You can get a full tablet. You can get that mobile phone we talked about last week for $10.
Yeah.
Is it $10, $12, right, for that mobile phone, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I guess we did talk about this last week, didn't we?
No. It just can't be done. I mean, if you for those who don't believe it, go out there, try and sell your own product and see how cheaply you can sell it for, right? And then do the math on how much you're getting paid per hour to do that, right? And if you're paying yourself a reasonable wage, a reasonable, engineering type wage, rather than, minimum wage, who wants to work for minimum wage, right? Screw that, right?
Yeah,
you're
and you
a
don't really
knowledgeable
get the
electronics engineer. You want to be above the minimum wage, right?
Yeah, I guess the thing I always forget about is I have the advantage of a couple. The stuff I work on is not high volume, but it's like mid volume, right? And people always say, oh well, there's no like low cost. I think I saw some other post on that the other day. Talking about what's the cheapest micro you can get on DigiKey, and it was like $1.50, in single piece quantity. And I'm like, man, like really? And it's because I never do single piece, right? It's like if I'm doing single piece quantity,
right? Yeah.
Anywhere, doesn't matter if it's DigiKey or LN14 or Newark, whatever, or Mauser. I don't care about it at that point. I'm buying it because I just need one, and I'm in the midst of developing another thing that will have higher volume. That's right.
Yep.
And
Same here.
Yeah, it's like so
I don't care if the chip costs $1 or $5 in one-off quantity. Who cares? Right?
Yeah. It's a tough switch to make at first, too, especially if you're a cheapskate like me. It's like, $8 for a chip. It's like, yeah, but it's going to be $3 later, so just shut up, Shut up, Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I don't have any problem with that at all, I don't care how much I pay one-off, really, mostly, for a part, because I know for a fact it's one-off, and, I'm paying a huge premium. I'm always going to pay a huge premium for that.
Yeah, depends. I don't know. I've paid, I guess I paid probably a couple tens of bucks. Tens of bucks for chips before, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah. As long as I'm not being judged on single piece builds, that's when it gets nasty.
So what conclusion did we come to there?
It depends.
Everything today, folks, is
everything in engineering.
It depends.
It always is that,
Yeah, it always depends.
It always depends.
The nature of engineering. I mean, that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
There's no one rule that fits everyone.
Should you file a patent, or should you post it to your blog first?
Publish.
Yeah.
Publish.
Yeah. So this is Zach Hoken-Smith from formerly a guest on the Amp Hour. But he's been doing really cool work with his bot queue and everything else, and I follow a lot of his stuff. But he's out in China still, and so he talks about patenting and everything, and basically why bother patenting when you can just publish it first, and then people have a harder time getting prior art against it. But I think in that case too, it depends, right? I mean, it's like, even if someone does file a patent against you, it's like, well, the patent office doesn't care. You still have
to defend it.
Right.
No, well, the lawyers don't care, right? The lawyers, that's the thing. People don't understand. You can get sued at any time for any reason whatsoever.
That's right.
Right? And once you accept that fact, you will sleep better at night, right? There's a lot of people worried about, I can't post that, I can't do this, I can't do that, because I'll get sued, right? Somebody will sue me. Yeah, well, welcome to the real world.
Right.
People can sue you for absolutely everything. Just accept that fact and get on with it. Seriously.
No, yeah, it's true. I mean, you're totally right. It's not any less scary, I don't think. It's just...
No, it's just
if you internalize it,
you
it's
don't
like,
give a
okay.
shit anymore.
Right,
Yeah, you've got to learn not to give a shit about that, because if you let that rule your life, you'll never produce anything. Content or products or anything.
Right. Yeah, especially, I know people that would be like, oh, well, hold on a second. We need to think about patenting this. And it's like, no, just go. Oh.
Yeah.
I excited the dogs here, apparently.
Who let the dogs out?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. All right, well done. Even I can hear that in the headphones here, so you can probably hear it at home, folks. Push on. Let's just do it. Yes, it's like, and I think on the show somewhere deep back in the past, we've mentioned a website that was set up specifically as a repository to publish your ideas.
Yeah.
As prior art, and I don't remember the name of it. I'm sure if I Google search it, I could probably find it. But there is like a rather than publish it on your own little obscure blog somewhere, right? There's a sort of official in quote marks prior art website where you just whack every idea you have in your head, just whack it up there, bang. So it's prior art, and that's it. So technically, no one can win a lawsuit against you. Because
right, it's not like you're going to be able to patent it either.
There.
It's just trying to hold other people off.
Yeah, that's right.
And
hold over. But that doesn't, as we said, doesn't stop them from suing you, right? They can still come along and they're having you. You can't just go to them. But look, I've put it on the prior art website. Their lawyers aren't going to care. They're still going to try and sue your ass.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right? they won't win, but you'll go out of business before you can afford to pay for the actually pay for the defense of that thing.
Yeah.
So that's. I know, it's a shit world we live in. Unbelievable. Well, I'm waiting for 2015. They're going to abolish all lawyers in 2015. They said so in Back to the Future.
Oh, but when they in Back to the Future 2?
Yeah, they abolished all lawyers in 2015.
I don't remember that. Obviously, I haven't seen it as many times as you. But
oh, come on.
Well, I own it. I'll go watch it tonight after we're done recording. How about that?
Right.
Just for you, Dave.
Well done. Yep.
Just for you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
But you can't just watch the second one. You've got to watch the whole sequence.
It's a start to finish? Yeah.
You got to
binge.
do start to finish.
The movie binge. That is a dangerous proposition with me. I'll go through with it, man. I'll be up at 4 a.m. Like, I got to go to work tomorrow, but it's only an hour. It's only a couple movies more. It's only the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Who cares? Extended edition.
Have you seen the new Iron Man yet?
No, it's not out here yet. It's Friday.
Oh, isn't it? It's out here apparently. I think.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Really? It's not out in the States. I'm sure it's out here. Somebody said they went to see it.
That's very possible.
I haven't actually checked the movie. Yeah.
I will definitely go see that. That's one I'll drop everything for. I mean, come on.
Right.
It's like what every nerd wants to be, right? Like, rich, famous, awesome superhero. Like they said in the Avengers, right? He's like, take away the suit, and what are you? And he says, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, genius, or something like that.
Genius, yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, I want to be that.
Oh dear. Yeah. Good stuff. Anyway, yes. Absolutely no doubt. Just publish.
I like it. Let's do some shonkiness. This is some... Speaking
do
of...
we have a shonky product?
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
It's been a while. It has been a while. This is what happens when Chris doesn't schedule guests. We dig into the old...
We dig into the old
targets,
segments, yeah.
But this was someone nice enough to post it to the subreddit. There was Brewmaster01 posted to the subreddit. It is Radblock. He found it at his gas station or petrol station. Basically, it's a product to you can install on your phone, and it'll block radiation to your head. 97.04% effective, it says. To SAR radiation.
What are their error bars on that?
Oh, God. 100%.
It's a little patch, right? It's
right,
a little,
yeah.
It's a little patch you stick on your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what radiation might cause, so you gotta be afraid. It's patent pending. So if you publish this first, I think the Muppets published this in the 70s. So
right.
Maybe their patent will be pending for a long time.
They've got a video of a very similar test bed. They're actually testing it to prove the effectiveness of it. And I don't necessarily doubt that it does block specific radiation in that particular direction under X condition.
Electromagnetic radiation. Yes.
Because I've done a video showing a machine the same thing. I visited a lab where they tested the mobile phone radiation like this. And so I don't
ionizing radiation though, right? That's what ultimately matters.
Anyway.
Classic.
For only £34.99, folks. That's pounds. It's UK.
Oh, by now.
And it's gold colour to make it look, make it look all schmick.
Yep. Well, to stick in the retro category, we should also do some... So we had a submission from... who is it from? Oh, shoot. I added too many links today, and now I can't find anything. Tomas.
That'll teach
Tomas
you.
Sent us a picture of his messy workbench, and it is built to spec here. It's got the requisite amount of crap all over the place, wires going everywhere, a nice power strip at the back in order to plug in as many things as you can, add a second one in there, and it also has being lit by a single lamp. So
I'm looking at it now, and it's work in the dark. That's how every lab should be. One flickering light.
Exactly. This is the prototype, folks. So if you can match this, but I was also going to mention his site. Actually, he's got some great projects on his site too. He's doing some like software defined radio and function generator stuff. So definitely check. I didn't even see that in his email. I just clicked over to it, but he's got some cool projects, and the bench supply he shows, he's hacking at that too. So good projects. I like when people post projects like that. It's always good to read up on. It gives us stuff to talk about. And of course, we have to mention, because this is, I think, the new gold standard for Workbench of the Week. Former guest Alan Wolke shows off his lab because when he asked me...
I haven't seen that yet.
He asked me, should I send in a picture of my lab? And I said, I think you heard me butcher the different types of scopes last week, so why don't we have you do it? And so he was nice enough to give a tour of his lab, and it is great. He gives background on all the scopes and when he got them, and he's got obviously tons of them because he does great videos. So, and
they're all Tektronix because he's a Tektronix man. He works for Tektronix.
Yep. He's got some
He'll die at Tektronix.
That's right. He bleeds Tech Blue.
He bleeds Tech Blue.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, people don't know about his channel too. His YouTube channel is spectacular. Yep. It's tons of great tutorials and everything. So,
absolutely, check it out.
And Alan was advising me on radios, and I have officially gotten my first ham radio.
You bought it on bloody eBay, didn't you?
I got it on Amazon, but yeah. It's just a handheld.
Worse.
What?
And a handheld to boot.
I know. What do I need? I know. You start small, all right? People don't go out.
Jesus Christ!
People don't go out and buy an Agilent DMM right off the bat. They go out and buy what's a $50 DMM that you like?
The X-Tech.
X-Tech, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they start with an X-Tech. They don't start with a 6.5 digit DMM. They start with a 3.5 digit. So don't give me that crap.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And what have you done with it? Talk to someone in the next suburb?
I have not, actually. I haven't been able to get it to work.
You haven't even done jack with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dig yourself in even deeper there.
Yep. Oh, yeah. The pile on the bench continues. But no, this is a good one. I've officially booked a room for Hamvention, and I've officially gotten a day off from work, so I will be there with bells on.
You can take your little handheld Amazon radio along to show off, hey, look at I'm a real ham. Look at this.
I know, right. There'll be people walking around with like 50-foot dipoles off their back, right? And I'll be like...
yeah, strapped to their back, that's right.
I'm going to learn, Dave. You got to start small, okay? What?
I'm sorry, it's embarrassing.
What? And we're someone mentioned, Dave's gonna make fun of you, and I'm like, yeah, of course he is, but you know what? Dave doesn't have any radios because you don't do that stuff, right?
No, that's right.
Exactly. So don't you start making fun of me. Not until you go buy your own.
If I did do it, I'm gonna buy an old bloody Icom or something off.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
eBay,
Yeah, go get your license. Go ahead. You know what? I start small because I know my personality type, and if I don't start small, I end up with what are one of my other projects? I have lots of projects littered around my lab, right? I have a half-working CNC mill, right?
Right.
I know myself. I can do one project at a time.
The wife is still trying to see a return in investment on, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll get there. Slow and steady wins the race, man. It's tough, right?
Slow and steady's fine, but don't embarrass yourself. Don't turn up to the Hamvention.
I think it's really. I think it's not a bad showing. Honestly, I think it's. I'm starting out. I'm going to learn. It's like, what's the big deal? People know that I know jack all about RF and ham radio and everything. I'm starting out, man.
People wander around. Hey, look at this cool amp hour T-shirt.
Well, yeah,
that'll make up for it.
It will. Of course, it will.
Yeah, I know.
So,
because it's awesome.
I don't know. I hardly even do like AC circuits, let alone I've been doing DC circuits my whole career, basically. It's that's the thing. You get. It's like, why would I go and jump into like I started doing video stuff right at one point, and it's like it's such a drastic jump that people will specialize in one area of of electronics. Their whole not necessarily, but like it can be very easy to, right? If you were on a 10-year path, becoming an expert in microcontrollers, maybe you're an expert in AVRs, right, and not anything else. You could find jobs for 10 years, and then maybe you go become a manager, and then your whole technical career was one technical section. Because
of course that is not uncommon.
Right? Yeah, you get rewarded for being a technical expert. Maybe less so these days than in the past, right? But and I think necessarily these days it's less so in the past. But I mean I think it's totally possible. So don't be shunning me. I think you should.
No.
Okay.
This is an interesting discussion point because it's almost the odds are most engineers are going to end up like that, right? Because what happens, right? You finish school, you get any job you can, right? You get any job that comes along and sounds good, right? So you take that, and that becomes your
you start with an internship or a co-op, right? I mean that defined a lot of my stuff.
Something like that, right? And then that defines the stuff you've first worked on. So let's say you've worked on seismic stuff like I had, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's what you have on your resume. So what job do you try and get next? Well, you've already got experience in that, so it's naturally you're going to start applying for the same similar sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't say, oh, okay, look, I've been working on seismic stuff, really low power, low noise, low frequency stuff, and then go work on high, expect to go get a job on high power RF transmitters, right? It's not going to to happen. So you're not even going to go and apply for those high power RF jobs.
Right. It's kind of depressing when you think about it.
Most engineers, I think, well, it is. Yeah. You're almost doomed to work, if you work for regular companies, unless you're like a one-man, unless you have your own design consultancy where you'll typically work on, a much broader range of, stuff, generally, or you work at a design consultant company, design consultancy company.
Although right? I know people in design consultant companies that were even they were pigeonholed basically because they were the experts.
Yeah. They were the exactly. So it's the same thing with them, right? They have experience in that particular product. They're going to go after new customers who want that product designed. Yeah. So they end up, and I know design consultancies that specialize in, parking meters.
Oh, really?
Right? Those sort of, that's because that's what they are good at. So they get all the contracts for all the parking meters or something,
Right.
And that's just the way.
Right, yeah, because from a management perspective, you don't want your engineers being like, well, I did a parking meter last time, but now I want to build a jumbo jet. So can you just bid on those jobs? They're like, no, we want money, right? I mean, that's
exactly.
You want to keep your business going.
That's right. We want the lowest risk job possible, right? So that we can make the greatest profit and have the lowest risk of it.
Right, exactly.
Blowing up in our face.
Especially if you're bidding jobs too versus like bidding hours, right? Okay. You want to know that, okay, I know that I've done 14 parking meter projects and I can average out that it takes me 2,000 hours, so I can buffer it to 2,500 hours and still make a profit, right?
Exactly.
Maybe you shouldn't do that, but that happens. Don't have any doubt on that one. So, yeah.
So let's get some feedback on this.
Oh.
Listeners. Have you been pigeonholed most of your career?
Yeah, that would be an interesting question, especially pigeonholing. We would probably expect that. Maybe not pigeonholing. That's a pretty strong
that's
term.
Pretty strong term. But have you worked in a similar industry most of your career?
Yeah,
I know I have.
Well, I have, but I have a shorter career so far. Well, although you broke out. You do video blogging now, right? So.
Well, yeah, that's a totally different career, but
it's still related because you're talking about the old days.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's it. When I was a boy.
Yeah. That is interesting.
I think we'll find it's very common. In fact, I think you'll find it's the majority, most likely.
Well, okay. Now a bigger question though is so first off, I would be interested to know if people are comfortable with that kind of thing, right? Because some people are, right? I mean, you want to be an expert. Like you think about a PhD, right? Someone who gets a PhD is someone who wants to be an expert in the expert in a very narrow subject area, right? So it's not just, you're not just working on ADCs, you're working on, sigma delta ADCs and
and
offsets.
Optimizing algorithms for that or something, exactly. Right? Yeah.
and you get paid well for that. Well, hopefully you get paid well for that. If you're an English major, maybe not as much, but like because you're an expert in that, people go to you for that. And it's like, if you're going into a PhD program, you probably have that in mind, that you're going to be an expert in a very narrowly focused area, right? But do other people want to do that? If you're just a practicing engineer, like, do you want that? And I don't think I do.
Well, I don't think most people want it, but that's just what happens.
Yeah.
I think, because the practicality is you have to go find a new job, and if you don't have experience in that field at all, hardly anyone's going to touch you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You were a great microcontroller guy. Oh, yeah, I'll give you a job as an RF designer. Right. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, then it's important to bring up there, too, is that that's the basis of the recruiting industry, too, right? I mean, recruiters want to make as much money possible by placing someone as fast as possible, right? So they're looking for someone with the exact experience of what's written to these increasingly specified and very detailed job requirements, right? I mean, if you go on Monster these days, it's like insane, Must have 10 years of Node.js and Python and yada, yada, yada. Crazy. So I think personally, the only way that I've seen to do it is you have to try and get an internal position. If you're at a bigger company, you get an internal position change. You start doing a little bit of work here and there. You get a boss or a supervisor that's interested in personal development. You say, I was actually talking to a friend about this, right? He's a hardware guy, but he said to his boss, he's like, look, I'm a hardware guy. I'll keep doing hardware, but I need to advance my career from a systems perspective, right? No one just does hardware anymore, right? I don't do hardware just anymore. I'm sure you don't either. I'm sure that would be much harder to find.
It's always been system. It's almost always been some sort of system thing.
Yeah, and maybe with the exception of like actual chip designers, but you can make the argument that a lot of them are scripting and everything anyways. But in terms of interacting with electronics these days, it's just a necessary thing. You have to exercise chips. You have to learn protocols and everything else, right? I think personally. So, he made that argument. Basically, he could hand it over the wall, but at a certain point, you have to learn these things. And I've made similar arguments too. I want to learn this stuff because I want to keep developing as an engineer.
Yep.
The other option is to, like you said, become a design consultancy or join one, and have that flexibility because you're determining your own projects and everything, what you're bidding on, right?
But even then, as we said, you get stuck into the point where, you have to make a profit from it, and you're going to pick the jobs that you can do, rather than pick a risky job. Oh, I've never done that before, but it'll be really interesting.
Right.
Well, good luck to you.
Right. You'd have to load a job probably. If you want to get into something new, like if you really wanted it, you'd have to practice beforehand. If say you're trying a new programming language or a new chipset, you'd have to practice it, spend time on your own to study it at a cost to you, right? Because whatever time you're not spending, I have a consultant friend that's gone through this, right? He's been learning a micro that he had never used before, and he learned it on his own when he wasn't. But you can't bill hours for that, right?
No, that's right.
And then when you finally do bid on a job, you probably have to go in with this expectation of you're not going to bill them for all of your hours, and if you're bidding on a job, right, you might get the shaft, right? You might get stuck with the. If your project doesn't work and you're trying to, deliver it, it's like, no, go back, keep working on it. We're not paying you until it's working.
You're on your 10th prototype? Well, that's your problem.
Yeah. Hope you aren't buying in single piece quantities.
Pay for Oh, boy. So, yes, it's inevitable, folks. Just accept the doom and gloom and of your mediocre career and your pigeonhole career.
No, Dave. No, the other option, right, is like you've always said, get your design jollies at home, right? I mean, that's the other option.
Yeah, working on your own shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And now the real question there, though, is could you try and leverage a project you did at home, if it was sufficiently, technical enough to be like, maybe go back to your boss or, go to a new client and be like, look, I've done this work before. It wasn't for anything that was, a paid job, right? Because there is weight behind that when there's, money behind it. But, here's this thing I did. Here's a prototype I worked on. Would you like me to, work it like this, or could I work on this kind of stuff? And
of course, that sort of stuff's going to work, and we've always said that.
Yeah,
just if like you can show that you've done something, that's it. Tick.
Yeah,
great. It doesn't mean that if you stick at the same company, if you bring in something that you've done at home and show them, sometimes they're just going to go, I don't give a shit. Just go do your job.
Yeah.
Minion.
Right. Well, that's going to depend on workplace culture and everything else, right? I mean,
yeah.
Because, if it's super high pressure, it's oftentimes there's no, sometimes there's not even time to go to, like, trade shows, right? I mean, like, I'm running into that right now. It's just schedules and
I've seen it happen. Like, even if you go study, it's a similar thing. Like, I know engineers I've worked with, right? And they went, well, I want to get into management, right? So they go and study their MBA, part-time or whatever. And once they're done, they go show their management, look, I've now, I've got an MBA.
I am qualified.
Management, I'd like to move into management. And a lot of the time, most of the time, they will end up, they'll put them in, okay, you can head up the next project or something like that.
Right, they'll keep it in mind.
And, they'll keep it in mind. And
so you're saying that, like, because there's legitimacy behind it, like if you just had like a bachelor's degree or something and you went and got a master's degree, you might go and say, all right, well, I want more. If you got a master's in, electrical engineering, maybe you'd ask for more.
I found it only works across like a different discipline. I like if you were hired as a regular engineer, right? You got your regular degree and you're working on something, and then you went and did your master's part time, and then you went and showed them, oh look, I've now got my master's in engineering. They're going to go, well, so what? Just keep on doing the same job.
Yeah. So you're going to go 2 times faster, and we can.
Exactly.
We can deliver sooner.
Yeah, that's right. So I found that is pointless. But if you I found it often works when you go do something entirely different, or relatively different to what you've been working on. That's my experience anyway. I found that generally works a lot better than
it's interesting. I guess I've seen that with the masters in the same discipline before. All of my friends are too young to be doing MBAs yet, and the ones that started out with MBAs I don't talk to anymore. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I know you want to do your MBA. Come on. You've got management written all over you.
No, I used to talk about it a lot, actually. Like, my mom still asks me if that's any indication. I don't know if that's any good indication, but my mom, you're going to do your MBA now? I'm like, no, I really have no interest right now. Probably never. I've just made fun of them too much, Maybe I will, but I'll have to make fun of myself even more.
Dude, you're going to end up in marketing or management.
Think? I
can see it. I can smell it. I can smell it a mile.
Yeah?
Yeah, smell it a mile.
I can see marketing obviously would be, I think that would be a thing for me, but I don't know if I'd want to, though. That's, I don't know, man. I'm sure there's marketers listening to this, and it's like, parts of it are interesting. Like, defining products is cool, right? I mean, if you're like defining a new chip and working on that stuff, that's cool, but, man, PowerPoints.
Well, marketing these days is often a lot of social media.
No, yeah, well, there's different types,
You're really into the social media side.
I guess what I think about marketing, I think about marketers as, like, at least from a electronics perspective, as like a product engineer, product manager, basically. You're owning a product line kind of thing. Like,
right.
You're getting I get requirements from the customers.
What fun is that?
Well, you're like defining the next generation of technology.
Your job's almost redundant. Your job's almost redundant at that point if you're following direction from your customers. Well, you may as well get it direct from your customers and sack Chris Gamble. We don't need him. He's just a middleman.
No, I mean, yes,
who we're paying a buttload of money to.
I'm a people person, damn it!
Right, engineers aren't supposed to talk to customers. That's right. Yeah, I forgot. Oh.
No, I mean, like the people that like come visit. I don't know if you ever had that, like where like people maybe they don't go to the backwaters of Australia, but I'll have like product managers come in and they'll ask me about what I'm doing now, what I need to see in the future from a chip perspective, right? I've been lucky enough to have that happen a couple times, right? And that's I think that's what I think of when I think of like marketing from like an electronics perspective. what you were talking about, like social media and Marcom stuff, like marketing communications, that stuff, no.
You even know the acronyms? See?
Oh, we used to have that.
Born for this.
No, I used to work with people like that. No, I know what I want, Dave, and that is not it. So don't tell me what I want. Cause
I just watched this the other night, Ghostbusters 2, and Rick Moranis, right? You know, who plays the right, and he puts on the Ghostbusters thing, and he's like, "I was born to wear this." I'm sorry, that scene just popped into my head. I can just picture you with
like a suit and tie.
I was born. Yeah, that's right. I was born to wear this.
No, Dave, wrong.
Come
wrong,
on,
Dave. I don't know. I think
bullshit.
I think once it's gone, once you get out of the technical field, it's tough to get back in. That's just what I've always heard. Like when you start managing people and everything else.
Yeah, I think so.
Even if you say, "Oh, I'm going to work on it on the weekends," like, yeah, you'd like to, but it's just you know how it is with like kids and everything. I'm sure that just gets really tough.
Yep.
And then eventually, all you do is sit in meetings
all day.
Totally agree. And I hate meetings.
Right. Sometimes they were funny because I'd sit back and I'd be pissing myself laughing inside and trying to keep a straight face, and trying to stop myself face palming. It was sometimes I'd really enjoy.
Oh yeah. Well, you always talked about FU money too, right? You always had that sitting around.
Oh yeah.
There's a blog that I really like. It's called Mr. Money Mustache. You ever heard of that?
I think you've talked about him before.
Oh, have I? Yeah, he's an engineer who retired at 30.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Highly recommended. It's very engineering centric. He swears a lot. He's very practical about everything. I talk about it nonstop, basically. So it's no surprise if I have mentioned it before. But if engineers are interested in personal finance, that's the one to go to. All right. Any last electronics stuff from this week? I think we talked about electronics a little bit. Right?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah,
and we've just skipped.
What's this one you put in here? The lab on a chip. That looked kind of cool.
Lab on a chip. They've got this chip, right? Like it's just like a chip, right? Well, there's more to it. It works like a micro machined like a MEMS kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you put a drop of blood on the chip, and it can detect 13 infectious diseases. Like, how the hell does this shit work?
I've seen that before. There's little micro channels, right, where they're like microfluidics and everything, and then somehow at the end it knows. I think based on like density or some other crap
and all that sort of.
But from a manufacturing perspective, how the hell do they make that? Right? I mean, like,
it's incredible.
The fact that it's silicon based.
It comes from DARPA, right? It's all DARPA based, and So based on MEMS technology, and it goes down to like picoliters of blood or something.
So
the
cool.
Fluid volumes, picoliters. Yeah. And so I guess you put a drop of blood on there, and the little MEMS things go in and I don't know, vibrate them or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
And measure it somehow, and from that they can detect infectious diseases.
Right, and these are not like
incredible.
These are like big ones in like sub-Saharan Africa and stuff too. Like leptospirosis and malaria and a bunch of them. Man, West Nile. Ugh. Yeah. So that is pretty crazy.
Unbelievable.
That whole bio.
That is awesome technology.
The bio part of electronics. That's a whole brave new world, man. I don't.
that is fascinating. Yeah. If you want to get into something.
Yeah. Well, because they have that
fascinating.
They have that biohacking. Where they have the what's it called? I think the PTR or something like that. It's a machine that basically heats up a biological sample to speed up DNA replication. I forget what it's called.
Oh, right. Okay.
But like that's like the beginning of like biohacking stuff. But it's just like there's so much stuff in there that, man, I fell asleep with that stuff in high school. You talk about switching gears. You think switching from DC to RF is tough. How about electronics to bio and like creating these channels and everything?
Absolutely incredible.
It's crazy. There was an article a couple weeks ago I posted on here where they talked about self-assembling not solder mask photoresist.
You're telling the story.
Yeah,
right.
Like
self-assembling photoresist.
Yeah, like photoresist for like etching wafers, basically. So instead of actually patterning stuff with light and then having like a light sensitive photoresist, this is basically somehow the the DNA chains like bind together, and basically though it self-assembles into this pattern, and then you can etch stuff below it with chemicals then, and basically it's the same as like having a standard silicon process right now, where you have a photoresist layer, you develop it, wash it away, and then you etch what's exposed. Right now, the exposed part is where the biological sample did not self-assemble, which is crazy. Like how do you do that? I mean, like,
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Black magic.
Yeah. I think at that point, there's certain innovations and certain technologies at some point, I'm just going to be like, that's it. I retire. I'm out of here. I'll see you later.
Right. Yeah.
let the youngins figure this out, because
right.
You know,
and I'll just retire and play around with my 555 timer.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather did. He was in the tool and die business, and once CNCs came along, he's like, I'm old enough. I'm out of here.
I'm out.
You know, and it's
right.
like, yeah, at a certain point, you know, you got to figure that. You know, some people go into management, like we mentioned before, but sometimes it's like, you know, like it's just, there's not that people can't learn. It's just the diminishing returns on learning. That's kind of the idea.
Right. You're right. Yes. The young people have time on their side.
Exactly. That's a better way to say it.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, we'll call it quits.
Yeah.
Because we're old and we don't want to waste any more of our lives doing this show, do we?
Yeah, man, I gotta go take a nap.
Oh, boy.
Oh, crap.
Buy the T-shirt.
We totally forgot to mention our sponsor.
Oh, our sponsor.
Thank you.
We can
Yeah.
we can insert something at the front, can't we?
We can, yeah. We'll have inserted it, so if that sounded weird to anyone, we'll insert it, but yeah. Thank you.
Sounds painful.
Thank you to the fourth week of Triad sponsoring us. We do appreciate that. That was a nice sponsorship, so we hope they come back soon.
We hope they got lots of licenses, because you get a free 12-month license for their VIA Designer software.
That's right. So check it out if you can.
Sweet.
And thanks again to Triad.
And move from working on 555 timers into the ASIC industry.
That's right.
Make that career change.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, you could.
Yeah, that would be a good example if you got your boss to, you know, approve you to work on an analog chip like that, you know, with a more stylized GUI interface for stuff that you already know in a board level design. You know, you could push it down into a chip, and then maybe you'd have to optimize later. You know, and maybe you'd want to learn chip design later.
You could do that. You could work on it at home on this software, and then you can go into work and say, hey, look, I've been playing with this really cool ASIC software. How about we do our next product? We can put it on a custom ASIC, and then you'd be the ASIC guy.
That's true.
Or girl.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be like the hero.
Yeah, I know.
That'd be cool.
Legend. No, people would be bowing down. We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
Right. We've never been able to afford an ASIC, and now we can. That's kind of cool.
I like it. All right. Next week.
All right. See you then.
Bye.
This episode of the Amp Hour was brought to you by Triad Semiconductor. If you need maximum flexibility in both the analog and digital realm, check out the VIA ASIC and associated VIA Designer software. Visit viadesigner.com/theamphour and enter AMP100 at registration for a free year subscription, a $500 value.